Hey everybody, DIY Dad here, back again with another fun little project. So we're here by my Ram 2500, and today we're going to update the projector headlights and fog lights to LED and out of the incandescents that they've been running, I guess halogens that they've been running up to this point. So take you through it step by step. Here we go. So I've got the hood up on the 2500 here, and from looking around online, a lot of people that I'm seeing doing projects like this are saying the first step for us is going to be to remove this grille. But I believe that we're not going to have to, and I don't think we're going to have to remove the wheel well liners either. I think they actually built this truck to make this a little bit easier than it was on my Silverado to do a very similar project. So if you look at the headlights, there's essentially 4 bolts. There's one here, one there, and there's 2 on this outside as well. If you look in here, you can actually see the top one right there, okay? So that's gonna be the first one we're gonna release. Now the bottom one's down here, and that's where people are saying you gotta pull the grill. But I don't think you actually do. Because if you look down in this gap, right down there in the bottom, my phone's not gonna do it, but just down in here, you can actually see that bottom bolt. It goes down as opposed to in. So I think if we put a long enough extension, we're going to be able to get that release. Now the real trick of that is going to be, can I get it back in there without dropping the bolt? So I'm going to have to figure out a way to stick the bolt to my extension when I try to thread it back in there. Taking the grill off would be easier. I don't like doing things the easy way. I prefer to do it the quick way and often harder way. So that's what we're going to try to do. So 2 there, and then the other 2 are going to be on this side. Now on the inside of the wheel well, there is a little access door right here that you can pop down. Mine's struggling a little bit, but this door does come down, and I can show you. I've got it open on the other side. So this door opens up, and your other 2 bolts are going to be right in there. So there's a bolt here, and I believe the other one is that one there on the side. And then that white tab that you can see right there, you're actually going to kind of pull down to release the entire light, and that'll allow the light, or it might be push up, I'm not exactly sure, we'll see when we get to that step. But that'll release the light so that this housing can come straight off of the truck, and that'll give us access to the bulbs. So we should be able to do this without having to take off the grill. If I'm wrong, you'll see steps for taking off the grill in just a minute here. All right, so one of the bolts is removed, and I think it would be possible to do this without taking the grill off, but even getting this bolt out, and these are significantly long screws, and just getting the clearance between this and the front of the grill was pretty tight. So it was get it loosened and then use my fingers to pull it the rest of the way. It's gonna be frustrating to do that across all of the bolts that we need for this to actually get this light removed. So I'm gonna go ahead and take the grill off, I believe, as well. So looking at the grill, in order to get access to the mounting points for this, we're going to need to take this shroud off. So we're going to pull each of these pressure clips. Now I have a little body clip pulling tool that works really well to make this easier so that you don't break these. You can just use a standard screwdriver. These are only like $3-4 at an automotive store. I recommend them because they do come in handy for things like this. The bolts for the light themselves are 10 millimeters, so you're going to need to find that socket if you can. It's the one that always goes missing for me. But looking at the body clips, I've got one here, one here, one there. So it looks like there's about 6 of them, and that's going to allow this shroud to get pulled out of the way, and then we'll find the mounting points for the grill itself. One little tip for you as well, all of my 10 millimeter sockets have a little bit of electrical tape wrapped around the end, so I can find them in my collection of tools, because these things do go missing often because they're used for more bolts than any other size in most vehicles. So I'm going to get this shroud pulled off, and then we'll find the mounting points for the grill itself. So when you are pulling these loose, these are pretty fragile things. I mean, it's plastic into plastic, and this whole thing heat soaks throughout the year, so these get kind of brittle. So my recommendation on a tool like this, just get it in there nice and deep, and then just work it with this pressed against something that's going to give you some resistance. Usually this is plastic that's pushing 2 pieces of plastic together, sometimes with metal on the end, and other times just plastic on plastic, so all of it's very flexible. But if you can kind of get the spots where it'll come loose and just slowly work your way around prying it up, and it will come loose I just want to be careful not to put too much pressure on it or you will break these. I will say for these that I've already pulled, I'm leaving them in the shroud so that I don't lose them. So these 3 are already loose, and then I'll be able to just line the holes up and push these right back in. If you do damage these, they're very cheap in the auto parts store. Just get a set of them. Okay, our shroud is out of the way, getting rained on a little bit. Beautiful day to be out here doing this. You can see the mount points for this grill. There's just 4 of them. So there's 4 bolts. Looks like they're 10 millimeters as well. 2 on this side, 2 on that side. And then the grill itself is going to have some pressure clips that kind of press down in as well. So you can see one of them right there. So once we get these 4 removed, we'll be able to just kind of pop this loose, and then the entire grill should pull free. So it's usually 4 to 6 pressure clips kind of across, and then these 4 bolts right at the top. There are these little plastic shrouds as well. You don't have to remove these. They're not actually attached here. They're only attached in the back, and they don't block any of our mounting points. So we'll just pull these, and we can leave these in place, and those kind of flap there, and we'll pull the grill off. Okay, our grill is removed. It was just 4 bolts across the top, all 10 millimeter, and then 4 pressure clips. So there's 1 here, 1 there, and 1 here, and 1 there. So just kind of grab it on one side and pop it loose. Move over to the other side, pop that loose. The whole thing comes off and can be set aside. So now that that's out of the way, we have easy access to all of our mounting points. So we have a bolt here that we need to get to. We've got the one at the top, as I mentioned. Then we have the 2 in the wheel well. You will have to come through that axis panel to get to those. So I'm gonna get these removed. I already started on this light. So I'll pull that one, come in through the passenger side wheel well, and get this housing pulled out. So I have the 2 bolts removed from the inside here of this light. Note they are very different in size. And in fact, the 4 that went across the top are also very different. The outside ones had a very coarse thread. The inside ones were a very fine thread. So what I'm doing as I go through here is I'm using an old top from a toolbox to keep all of this stuff organized. But these long bolts here are for the bottom because it goes through all these different things before it gets to the clip. The shorter ones are for the top. All right, I'll move around to the side and we'll get the ones in that little access panel taken out. All right, so looking in here, I was a little bit wrong. So there are no bolts in here that you have to remove. It's all about that white tab. So you're gonna push that up till you hear a click, and that's gonna release this little black peg, which is all that's holding the back piece really in. Now there's still a pressure clip in here as well that's kind of holding this. So with that released and the bolts out, this is mostly free. You still have to pull it loose, and it's gonna feel like you're about to break something, but that's just the pressure clip holding it. So you're going to grab onto this piece and this part and yank, or if you have a plastic panel tool similar to the metal one that I was using, but I don't want to scratch up my bodywork. If you have one of the ABS plastic ones, you can put it in here and kind of pop, and that'll get the pressure clip released, which is kind of right back in here. So I'm just going to grab onto this side and over here and just give it a good pop, and this whole fitting should come out. So no bolts in there. It's just that white plastic tab, and you push it up until it clicks. That releases it, and then the 2 bolts on the side. So here we've got the headlight removed, and it totally feels like you're gonna break it. I ended up having to use my trim tool with a little piece of kind of leather here against the bodywork to avoid scratching it, and just prying. And the reason is that guy right there. This little metal tab goes into that white plastic thing, and that holds it really well. Now the other thing we were releasing is this guy. So you can kind of see it's a little angled piece, and this white tab is what's holding that in place and kind of locking it in. So you push it up, it releases that one, but this one you're going to have to release purely by force. So grab onto it, pop it loose, but then the whole thing will be loose from the car or truck, and you can tip it forward and disconnect the cables on the back. On the 2500 at least, this is all one sealed unit, so it's a single wiring harness that connects to the truck, and then everything else is done internally. So we're going to disconnect that, and that'll let us take this whole light housing and move it off to somewhere a little bit more comfortable where we can get into the back here and get the bulbs removed. All right, sorry about the background noise, but with this open, we can just pop these clips off, pull these plugs off, and then these lights come out by turning them a quarter of a turn to the left, and then they'll release. The new bulbs then go in exactly the same way, and then just retighten it off to the right to lock them in place. All right, got the light kind of temporarily placed. You can see the difference between the lights, the LED on the left and then the original halogens on the right. Much brighter, much cleaner light. Like it already. So now next step's going to be to put everything back together, reverse the way that we took it apart. So we'll give that light a good push into the truck, run the bolts on, and then move over to this side, take that one apart, and do the same swap. So then remember, when you put the light back in, after you kind of push it in, you're going to reach in here and you're going to pull down on that white tab, and then it'll lock that in place. Then we can do the bolts on the front. And then this cover just gets pushed right back up. All right, both lights are reassembled and reattached. So next we'll pop the grill back in. To do that, we're just gonna line up the pressure clips on those 4 points, push in to set it, and then do the 4 bolts across the top, remembering that the coarse threaded bolts are on the outside corners, and then the middle ones are the fine threaded. And now that the grill's back on, we'll put the shroud back on, and then it's almost dark enough for us to get out and take it for a test drive. All right, I'm just back from my test drive, and wow, what a difference that makes. These lights are much nicer than the stock halogens. In fact, they're bright enough that I can shoot this video by having those lights bouncing off my camper and using it as my light source. So there you go. Yeah, really nice upgrade, very easy to do. I'm not going to endorse a specific product. There's tons of research out there about the different products that are out. I think I use Novasight on mine, but they're by no means the best or worst out in the market. Do your own research on that, but hopefully this video will walk you through the process. So all that being said, this being the end of a DIY dad video means I do owe you a dad joke. And since we were working on the truck, what do you call 5 tow trucks all parked in a group? A foot truck. All right, you might not like that joke, but a good friend of mine actually met his wife by first asking her out to a date eating nachos in front of a line of Dodge Rams all parked in a row. That might not have worked on most girls, but she's a sucker for cheesy pickup lines. Remember, with any DIY project, it doesn't have to be perfect. Most important step is just to do it. No one's going to see the flaws unless you point them out. Have a great day. Stay safe. Catch you in the next one. Bye.